This is something new that's horribly powerful, that's doing much, much more, I think, in a more dramatic fashion than alcohol or anything else here has ever done.
A lot of broken homes, a lot of murders, a lot of robberies and thefts going on.
I can't even begin to count the number of times that I've had children come in and tell me horror stories about what's going on in their homes.
And we gotta talk about this stuff. They need to know that if we do not discuss this in this level, it will destroy us.
The 1980s was a decade of change and development for the CNMI. Economic growth, led by a boom in the tourist and garment industries, saw new hotels built and businesses started. With the development came money, millions of dollars for land leases. And soon a new wealthy class emerged. Asian labor was brought in, and the population of 17,000 expanded to more than 50,000. The CNMI was transformed into a multicultural society, practically overnight. By the late 1980s, amid the new affluence, ICE arrived.
It became popular with people about the same time all the money started to come in.
It's such a cohesive community here that when one introduced it to a quote-unquote safe surroundings, it got tried by other family members or friends, and soon it just had a domino effect.
By 1993, it was estimated that 1/3 of the families in CNMI had one or more members using ICE.
It didn't matter if you're male or female. It didn't matter if you had a job or not had a job. You know, all those things that we had thought of in the past as quote-unquote profiles were thrown out the door.
Right now there's a lot of ice on the street. It's all around. You can basically get it anywhere you go. There's ice readily available to be sold. It's going for about, from somewhere between $400 to $600 a gram.
Since 1990, nearly $10 million worth of ice has been seized in drug busts in the CNMI. Authorities estimate that every year, $20 million worth of ice is consumed in Saipan.
How many of you know at least one person that's on ICE in the community? Not necessarily a family member, but you know of somebody that's an ICE user.
It's everywhere. It's incredible. You see it in the workforce. You know, I see it in employees in every government agency that I've ever visited or had to deal with.
It has gone way into the system. I mean, right now, I personally feel that ICE is an epidemic already on there.
Many problems. I mean, if you want to quantify it off the top of my head, maybe 50% of people who came in with some sort of counseling problems, family-related problems especially, there was some connection with ICE.
My name is Jolyn Villagomez, and this letter that I am about to read isn't mine. Dear God, please help me because my mom and dad loves me, and my sister and my brother too, but they always smoke ice. My mom got raped because my other father was on ice. Then my mom got divorced. I'm never going to smoke because I might lose my mind and get crazy, then kill someone. Sincerely, a girl.
Crystal methamphetamine, or ICE, is a stimulant drug in crystal form that is made of purely synthetic chemicals. Once melted, it can be smoked or injected into the body, where its harmful effects come into play. The physiological effects are immediate: increased heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature, which could result in a heart attack, a stroke, or a seizure.
ICE has awakened us to the fact that drugs like these can kill you the first time you use it.
We see a lot of patients coming into the emergency department here in Saipan that have a variety of medical conditions that seemed like they were related to methamphetamine or ICE use. young people coming in with high blood pressure, strokes, chest pain. Some of those people actually die.
Of course, the family does not want to discuss it. They died of a massive heart attack. They died of a stroke. Well, very few people at a very young age have a heart attack unless they have a chronic history of heart disease.
ICE users ignore the physical dangers because of the immediate sense of well-being or high that is triggered by the drug. The deceptive side of ICE is that it also boosts self-confidence and creates a sense of productivity, seducing the person to use it again and again. The truth is that the euphoria will sooner or later become a nightmare.
My name is Francisco Semen Ada Jr. I am a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. You know, it's been 4 years and 8 months since I smoked ice, and if I remember correctly, you know, it was just, it was almost like a life on the edge, you know. Any day now I'm going to explode. In the beginning, it was actually, you know, it seemed to be doing what it was supposed to do. You know, we felt good doing it. But, you know, soon after, it was probably one of the worst things that I've got myself involved with. Your tolerance builds up, you know. So, you know, you start off maybe for $100 a day, then you progress to $200, $300, and next thing you know, every 2 days is $1,000. And, you know, that is just, that's the insanity of using this. My life was so chaotic. You know, I was financially bankrupt. My relationships were really hurting. When you're high, you know, you're feeling good, but it's that when you're coming down from that high, you know, you want it, but if you don't have any, you're easily agitated. Your mind is still thinking, how can I go get, or where can I get my means of financial, you know, access so that I can go buy some more.
So someone stolen and then radio and then cassette, TV, something like that, then go out over there. Somebody this morning early, I don't know what time exactly, then and somebody shot a rifle gun, right?
We have people that we identified to be drug, ICE traffickers that are connected to 20 or 30 burglaries and other, like theft crimes, you know.
If they're working in the government, they'll steal government products or properties, public properties. Vandalism, theft, everything has risen to a level that is unexplainable without taking the methamphetamine problem into account.
The scars from ICE use that were once whispered about are now shouted out in newspaper headlines. The papers chronicle time and time again the crimes and violence associated with the drug.
You know, people committing murder, people committing suicide. This is all happening in this community. But we look at it at the very surface level. We don't look down. And we are educating this community that not only do you look at those kind of things, that maybe methamphetamine is related, but when somebody just comes up with a gun and shoots you in a car, that doesn't happen very frequent elsewhere. Surely doesn't happen that much frequent in this community. But it's happening.
The most sinister face of ICE appears when ICE users experiencing withdrawal symptoms from the drug suffer from its emotional consequences: paranoia, anger, anxiety, and depression.
That crash can lead to somebody committing suicide, that they become so depressed, so down, that they decide to take control of their own life, and some of them do end up committing suicide. That crash itself also can cause people to be very violent.
I've had friends that have done some things that they would normally won't do, but because drugs are in their system, it has a control over them.
In recent years, the number of violent crimes associated with ICE use have not only increased, but have become more brutal. In 1996, a group of young men between the ages of 14 and 17 were convicted of murdering a Korean storekeeper. In 1997, a mother was stabbed to death in front of her 2 children.
I knew the person that passed away. I knew, without any mention of the accused to be involved with drugs. That was just a shocking thing for me.
I felt sad because they murdered her, they stabbed her kids.
We were all crushed when we heard what had happened. And I guess even I myself feel very powerless over the power of ICE.
I never feel like I'm safe in the CNMI.
I have my kids here. They're teenagers, and I don't want them to go out anymore because I'm scared that anything would happen along the road.
My name is Amy Bata. I'm about to read a letter from a 6th grade child. She writes, "Dear God, I would like to ask you a favor, but it's not for me. My favor for you is to help others stay away from drugs and to knock some sense into those people who use drugs to stop now. I am a child whose life may be in danger because of these people. I feel unsafe in this world. I'm scared it might occur to my family and friends, but mostly that it might happen to me. I'm really scared of dying, but also living. Love you always, a very scared 6th grade child."
The impact of the ICE epidemic on school children in the CNMI is distressing.
Most of the kids are starting using drugs, and then they get really destructive. And pretty soon, if children such as us do drugs, what are we gonna be known as, a bad island?
Just wish they could just ban those drugs from coming in, kill all those plants right now in the CNMI.
For some of them, the horror stories are all too familiar because they live it every day.
Half the time when I go to the schools, kids are crying because what I'm talking about is happening to their family.
I have students, one child that I can think of immediately that lived in 4 different homes in a 2-week period. They have no residence of their own because all of the family money was spent for drugs. The way I envision this child is all of his belongings in a little shopping bag, and he just moves from house to house. There was one time on his birthday in particular that he didn't know where his mom was for 4 days, and he was turning 8.
Somebody that came to treatment for methamphetamine was 5 years old, and it was basically the kid stumbled into the drug itself in their own household, that saw mom and dad using it. When they were gone, he tried it.
I just had a student today, in fact, come and tell me of concerns that he had because older relatives were offering him drugs, and he was trying to say no, and they were shouting at him, and he was really afraid and didn't know what to do.
Hi, my name is Brandon Calvo Feheran. I am going to read a letter that is dedicated to God. Dear God, my dad uses drugs. He uses ice. My dad tells me if I tell the teacher he is using drugs, he will slap me on the face. And I know something they use drugs for. They use straw to pick up the ice and fire to melt the glass. Your son.
Acknowledging the use of the drug and seeking professional help for ice addiction is very difficult for people in a small island society.
It's not easy for people to confront one another here because they live with one another every day. It's also difficult to even talk about it being here or accepting the fact that that is a problem here.
It's such a small community, and everybody almost practically knows everyone, or knows each other. So when a member of this community is incarcerated for things such as rape, murder, thievery, drug use, for instance, brings tremendous shame.
It's not just a personal thing. You know, it's not just a family thing. It can be an entire institution that doesn't want to see this.
That as long as we keep silent when we see people using or doing things that are wrong, the more we give them a license to continue that behavior. Silence is acceptance, and we need to stop being silent and speak up and say, this is not right.
When I hit rock bottom, it was just the loneliest feeling, you know. It came to that literally a state of hopelessness and helplessness. So I had to bring myself to ask for help. I had a friend that works at the hospital. I asked her if she could set up an appointment for me to see somebody at the hospital.
The cultural barriers of shame are being broken as more people than ever seek professional help for their ice addiction at the Division of Mental Health and Social Services. Though the number is said to represent a minority of actual ice users, it is increasing every year. This reflects a growing recognition that the ice problem has to be addressed.
It's not going to happen until people are ready for it, and it's beginning to happen now.
People now that are coming in, never mind being referred to the treatment program from the court system or from the UIS, now are coming in voluntarily and say, I need help.
The message for me, for those people still using, you know, I encourage you to talk to somebody. I encourage you to talk to somebody that you can trust, that who knows that may lead you to a person that can help. There is hope. There is an opportunity for you to have a better life than the life that you presently are living. It's very painful. It's very hard. But in the end, it's worth it.
The CNMI Department of Public Safety encourages citizens to take bolder steps by calling the Crime Stopper hotline and providing information on ice traffickers that could lead to their arrests.
Let the system know that this is what's happening at Mr. Kamatsu's house or Mr. Castro's house. He's involved in ice. He got this ice, at his house. He's selling. I think that's the key there.
And rather than to blame that they're not doing it or the police is not doing it, this and that, everybody's got to do their share. Everybody has a share because every single person in this community is affected by this drug problem.
Francisco knows his personal battle over ice addiction is a continuing one.
The bottom line is you have to stop and totally change your lifestyle. I'm not cured by any means. I just have to take it day by day.
Francisco has been winning his battle for nearly 5 years. He went back to college and received a degree in psychology this year.
It was more like a special moment for my mother and father. I know that I did it for myself, but I would have liked to dedicate it to them, because they were always there for me, and I know I put them through a lot, but they always stood by me.
What keeps me going in the 5 years, and so many other people, is that there's always this call once in a while that happened to me first 4 years ago, right after Christmas, when a mother calls me and said, I want to thank you and the people up there because you gave my husband back to me.
I have no idea whether I'm going to use tomorrow, but I have tools that would help me not use today, and I hope I can still have those tools tomorrow.
This is a grassroots problem that we need to solve here. We cannot turn to elsewhere or other people to do it. And it involves every single member of this community, no matter what your racial background or ethnicity is, or what your citizenship, or what color you like, or what creed, it doesn't matter. This is our problem, it has to be solved by us, and it involves every single person out there.